This has been a massive, busy offseason for the Padres. December 29th, they get Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays, so he joins that staff. And also, that same day, September 29th, they get Yu Darvish and Victor Caratini in a deal with the Chicago Cubs. 2 days later, they sign Ha-Seong Kim to a 4-year, $28 million deal from the Korean League. And then they acquired Joe Musgrove from the Pittsburgh Pirates as part of a 3-team trade on January 19th. Few days later, they re-signed the versatile Jurickson Profar to a 3-year, $21 million deal. And after all that work, A.J. Preller gets a change in his job title, promoted to President of Baseball Operations earlier in the month. And then on Wednesday, Fernando Tatis Jr. agreeing to a 14-year, $340 million extension. It is the longest contract in baseball history, surpassing Giancarlo Stanton's 13-year contract that he signed with the Marlins back in the day. All right, Dan O'Dowd, as someone that has negotiated big-time contracts, put together teams, what was your reaction when you heard about this deal with Tatis Jr.?
Well, probably like your reactions, like, wow, that's a lot of money. It's a very young player. Honestly, I think it's a great move on the Padres' part. Sure, it comes with a ton of risk. Every decision you make in the game has risk involved in it. But they know this player internally, and I can tell you as a GM, this is a generational type player. They just don't come along this way. So they've eliminated the countdown clock. There'll be no distractions about his money. There'll be no distraction. Can they sign him? When are they going to trade him? All of that has been taken out of the equation. We did that with Tulo in Colorado.
Yes.
His whole focus was on the game. But my real question was, Robert, when I saw this, is, okay, I agree with the move. How do they now afford him? Because it's a really thin line. It's a tough needle to thread to make sure that you can keep this kind of commitment in place and still be able to afford him on the field.
Yeah, Dan, this is just a monster deal, and it just further solidifies that the Padres sending the message to everyone. We are serious players, and we're serious about winning.
Yeah, they are. And I took a lot of heat from Dodgers fans the last few days saying that Dodgers-Giants series isn't really what it used to be, that rivalry. Make no bones about it. The next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be Padres, it's going to be Dodgers. This San Diego Padres team, I thought last year, that series, they swept in the series, but it was a Cody Bellinger great play in center field. There was a lot of emotion that was in that series. And what I like about it, it seems from the outside looking in, two teams that don't like each other either. You have the upstart team and the Padres that want what the Dodgers have, and you have the Dodgers looking down saying, hey, not so fast. When the Dodgers make a move and go get a guy like Trevor Bauer and pay that much money, I think that sent the message to the Dodger fans and through that organization, listen, the Padres are coming, and we have to counterbalance that move. I like this move with Tatis. I think you lock up one of the premier players. And the best part about this, when I looked into the numbers, he had some issues throwing the ball around a little bit in 2019, a little bit erratic throwing. He gets to so many balls that at times he thinks he can make every play, and that's where a good majority of those errors came from. He cleaned that up in 2020. And what I like about him, I love his body. That body ages well, if you ask me. That's a body, and he hits so well that you could see him playing third base. You could see him playing right field or left field. He's a unique player, that he's a wiry, strong kind of player that has pop, and those bodies normally last through the course of time.
Yeah, he's almost like he's built like an NBA player, or I know his manager compared him to an Olympic swimmer, that type of physicality. So, Dan, you've had a chance to really look at this, and I always say you make us smarter when you're on here. So, with your experience, when you look at this deal and how it plays out, or how it might play out for the Padres' future, what do you see?
Well, again, you don't see many small to mid-market clubs make these kind of commitments simply because they can. And I'm going to show you how the Padres can, but it's going to put incredible pressure on their scouting and development, which to me has been elite, to continue to produce. This is their current club in 2021. It's loaded for bear, ton of veteran players. They've created great depth. But this is their club come 2023, because this is now what they have to do. A young catcher in Campusano is now in that mix. C.J. Abrams is in that mix. Robert Hassel may not be ready in 2023 and maybe more 2024, but that's 3 young players. Now, to balance out their payroll, this is their starting rotation in 2021. Again, loaded with experience in there. But now you turn to 2023, you got Mackenzie Gore, you got Ryan Weathers, Pomerantz is still signed through that year as their closer. They begin to filter in young players. Let's look at their payroll model. In 2021, this year, we project them to have a $171 million payroll. That is not sustainable in San Diego. You cannot do that year in and year out. 2022, it drops to 154. Now in 2023, it's now down to 121 million. That's a payroll that they should be able to sustain somewhere between that 120 and that 150 area. And you can make this work, but you really have to continue that flow of young talent that consistently comes through the organization, because their payroll model is going to be very top-heavy in their commitments to Tatis and Machado and Hosmer and Yu Darvish. And so that's where you balance it out with other young players coming through your system. It can work. I love the opportunity they've given themselves to try to make it work.
That's a checkbook I'm glad I don't have to balance, because that's, I mean, as Dan O'Dowd mentioned, they don't have a lot of room for error there.
You know what I find refreshing about it? The last year or two, we've talked a lot about teams, hey, doing these massive rebuilds, and I don't want to use the word tanking, even though I just used it, but we've seen some teams the last couple of years go into the season with little or no chance to win, and it's almost like they've built a team saying, okay, we're going to be bad, so if we're going to be bad, let's be really bad, and let's just clean this thing up and fix it. And it's not that easy to do. The Cubs did it. The Astros did it, but we're going to see some other teams attempt to try to do that. I applaud what the Padres, they're in, they're putting their chips in, and they have the minor league system that maybe can afford them to do this.
And let's put it from a business perspective, because on the business side, guys, they get involved in these decisions, because eventually that you have to make those payments on the bills that get due. The Padres probably sat down and modeled saying, oh, listen, in our top heyday, we were drawing $2.8 to $3 million when Petco opened. Since 2010 through 2019, our top attendance model has been in that 2.4 to 2.5 area. We've got to move that up now to 2.8, 2.9. So that's about 6,000 fans a game. They can do that. That might be an additional $50 million to their bottom line, which allows them to sustain the payroll model if they put a good product on the field.
I love that. That's a very good way to put it. They definitely have the star power. So once fans are allowed back at the ballpark en masse, hopefully San Diego Padre fans will be filling up that park very, very soon.